Good morning, everybody. This is Miss Mincy, and because EOGs is around the corner, today I'm going to be talking to you about strategies for taking standardized tests. Benjamin Franklin once said, "By failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail." This is true when it comes to preparing for your end-of-year exams. So today I will guide you on what to do the day of the test, what to do the day before the test, what to do the day of the test, and what to do on the test itself. Learning takes time and doesn't happen overnight. Our brain is not built to make long-term focused decisions. It's hardwired to care way more about now than later. What this means is that your brain is not up to the task for preparing for a test. So you need to build external structures to help it out. And the most important one is a study schedule. So in order to create a study schedule, you must first figure out the exact dates and times of your tests and add them to your calendar. I recommend directly building your study schedule into the calendar you are already using for everything else in order to figure out how to balance actually studying for the test and how to finish all those projects and assignments that lead up to the day of the test itself. You can place them in your Google Calendar on your computer. Maybe you have a physical agenda that you write in, or you can even put it on your mom's calendar on the fridge, color coded. Whatever you need to do in order to make a study schedule that works for you. So once you place the dates in the calendar, you should work backwards and schedule study sessions at least 3 to 4 weeks leading up to the EOG. So for some of us, that's actually starting that study schedule today. So get to studying. So when it comes to actually sitting down and studying, try to replicate the testing conditions as much as possible. Our memory is very context-based. So if you can review the materials under the conditions similar to that of the test day, recalling it will be much easier when it comes time to sit down and actually take the test. But how do we do this? We do this by trying to get as much information about the test as possible. So during this time, you need to start asking your teachers what materials will be covered on the test, what type of questions are actually on the test, whether it's multiple choice, short answer, fill in the blank. And then you want to ask what materials you're going to actually use during the test session, whether that's a calculator, scrap paper, number 2 pencils. You need to make sure that you're prepared for what materials you're going to need to use during the actual test. And then you're going to want to ask for practice tests. You're asking for this so that you can practice studying all the materials you're going to need to know for the test, and then also so that you can replicate the actual testing environment. So now that we know how to create a study schedule, we know what materials we're going to need to actually study, and we know it's time to start studying. Let's talk about what to do the night before testing. The first thing you're going to want to do is stick to your routine. It is important to stick to the routine you've already established during testing periods for academic potential and good habits. On the night before a major test like this, it's important to stick to your routine you've already established. So make sure you eat dinner at the same time as usual. You go to bed when you normally would. And you don't miss out on watching your favorite shows if it's on. The next thing that you're going to want to do the night before testing is get a good night's sleep. To ensure you perform well on the test day, make sure you get at least 8 to 10 hours of sleep the night before. And also, to ensure that you aren't kept awake mulling over the next day's exam, avoid using your phone, laptop, or tablet for about 30 minutes prior to heading off to bed. This is because most of the screens use blue light, which suppresses the secretion of melatonin, which is the hormone that makes us sleepy. So in order to ensure a good night's sleep, you want to make sure that you put those electronics down. So the next thing that you can do the night before testing is make sure you're fitting in some kind of exercise. Fitting in some cardio exercise on the evening before your exam will get your blood, oxygen, and nutrients pumping to your brain, improving your memory and problem-solving skills altogether. Not only will exercise help your physical well-being, it can also help your exam preparation and relieve feelings of stress and anxiety. So it's really good to make sure you do some kind of cardio exercise the evening before. The next thing that you can do the night before testing in order to create success is make sure that you're organized. So have your pens, your pencils, and everything else you may need for your exam ready to go the night before in your bag. You want to also make sure that you set your alarm, allowing yourself plenty of time in the morning for a big healthy breakfast and to get to your exam destination on time. These are important because if you start off disorganized, it can create more anxiety and stress where it didn't really need to be there. So make sure you're organized that night before. And the last thing to think about the night before is make sure you don't stress yourself out. Although it may seem like right now exams are the end all be all, exams do not define who you are as a person. And even if the worst occurs, there are many different pathways to achieve your goals, including making sure you're doing your best the next school year. So don't stress yourself out the night before. Relax, take it easy, and get prepared to do your best on the test the next day. So what do you do the morning of the test? The first thing you want to do is wake up early and have a healthy breakfast. Some ideas for a good healthy breakfast is eggs, toast, cereal, bagels, fruit, juice, cheese, or milk. The next thing is you want to make sure you get to your testing site early. When you get to the testing site, try to steer clear of nervous people. You don't need their anxious energy rubbing off on you. Make sure you take some time for yourself to settle in prior to the test and to really clear your mind of all anxious thoughts. The next thing is you want to make sure you get comfortable in your testing environment. You're going to be there for a very long time, and you want to make sure that you're comfortable wherever it is you're going to be. The next thing is that you want to listen to all of the testing directions very carefully. Don't wander off. Don't get distracted. You want to make sure that you're listening to what the teacher is telling you to do on the test because you have to show what you know. So you want to make sure that you're listening very carefully to all the testing directions. And then the last thing is to really relax and think positively. You have to get in a good mindset in order to do good. So make sure you do that once you get to the testing site. The next thing I want to talk about is the sleeping cure during testing. A lot of times we find ourselves dozing off during testing because it is such a long length of time to do one activity. So if you find yourself getting sleepy or distracted, take a deep breath, hold it in for a count of 4, and then breathe out for a count of 8. This will renew your supply of oxygen, allowing you to think and remember better. Then repeat this breathing activity as many times as needed to remain wide awake and mentally fresh. If the breathing activities don't work, then make sure you get up and stretch your arms and legs. This will get your blood flowing and help you to focus on the task at hand. It is okay to take a break just to stretch and to get back into the game. So the next thing I'm going to talk to you about is test taking strategies. Here I'm going to show you some of the things you can do that might make you more confident and comfortable on test day. keep in mind that everyone is different and all of these don't work for everyone, but it's always better to try them out before you actually use them on the day of the test. The first thing that I want to talk to you is about multiple choice questions. So if you do not understand any of the directions, make sure you ask for clarification when it comes to multiple choice questions. Make sure you read the question and all the answer choices before marking anything. Do not change your first answer unless you are very certain about your new answer. Remember, your first guess is usually the one that is right. Make sure you're not leaving any answer choices blank. You want to make sure you're giving your best on every single question. And then try to answer every question and make the most intelligent guess you can. The next strategy I want to talk about is math computation strategies. The first thing is that you're going to want to use the scratch paper that we provide for you. And when using the scratch paper on a math test, make sure you write the number of the problem of the paper with your work. This is important because if you want to come back to check anything, you'll know which number you're looking at. Also, double check to make sure that you have copied the problem correctly for the test booklet. You want to make sure that you're finishing the problem that is actually on the test itself. Trust me, I know. You can write it wrong, and then that can lead you down the wrong path. And then you want to make sure you line up all the place values correctly on the scratch paper, or the answer will be incorrect. The next thing is that you want to make sure that you match your signs, whether it's positive or negative, from the scratch paper, or the answer will be incorrect. The last thing that you're going to need to do is make sure that if your answer does not match one of the answer choices, you reread the problem, recopy the numbers, and try solving it again. If you don't see your answer, that means your answer was wrong. So make sure you check that. The next strategy you're going to want to use during the testing session is pacing yourself. Don't spend too much time on any one question. Do your best and then move on. If you focus and fixate on one problem because you don't understand it, you'll never get to those questions that you may actually know the answer to. So don't spend too much time, move on, and if you need to come back to it, then make sure you do that. And then you want to answer all of the easiest questions first. Then make sure to go back to the beginning and answer all your skipped questions. If you're really not sure you have enough time to come back to those answers that you may not have known, then make sure you at least make an educated guess. And then when you come back, try to really think a lot longer because you know how much time you really have left to spend on it. The next strategy that I want to talk about is the process of elimination. So after you have read through the questions, look through the answer choices and eliminate the answers that are far-fetched or obviously wrong. So you're going to want to scratch out the ones that you know do not answer the question at all. Then you have now increased the chances to find the correct answer. As you can see on the chart, the more choices you eliminate, the better chances you have of getting the answer correct. So make sure you eliminate the questions that are far-fetched or obviously wrong. But don't guess blindly. If you have time to think about the best answer choices, make it, okay? Take your time. Don't go blindly into this. We really want to know what you know. So take the time and really think about the ones that you're eliminating that don't best answer the question. And the more you eliminate, the better chances you have of guessing the correct answer. The next testing strategy is skip, return, and repeat. So if you finish early and you have time, go return to the questions you skipped to check and make sure you have answered all the questions. If you have time left over, make sure you're using it wisely. Another testing strategy that works is identifying keywords. You want to make sure you're using the keywords or phrases of a question to help you choose the correct answer. If you find yourself with a question with multiple parts that have questions linked to it, you want to make sure you're circling the key words and numbers in each of the questions to assist you. And this really helps you stay focused on the central question. Another key part of testing is reading passages. If the test requires you to read passages and then answer questions about what you read the questions first. It's best to know what they're asking you so that when you're reading, you can identify those keywords and phrases that I talked about previously. By doing this, you will know what you are looking for as you read. This also helps you go faster on the test itself. When there are several questions from a reading passage or chart, look for clues in the other questions that will help you answer the questions you are unsure about. Another strategy you can use when reading passages is try to formulate the answer before you read the choices. This helps avoid choosing the appealing answers that only look right. So make sure you cover the answers with your hand, read the questions and predict the answer, and then find the choice that most closely matches your prediction. Again, remember, your first answer is usually the right one, so lean on yourself and trust yourself. And my last strategy is return and check. If you finish early and you still have time on the test, make sure you check to see that you have answered all the questions correctly and to the best of your ability. Again, just like when I said earlier, with the skip, return, and repeat, you also want to make sure you use your time wisely if you finish early. So again, check to make sure you have answered all your questions correctly and to the best of your ability before you finish the test and hand it in to your teacher. And the last thing that I want to highlight is that you need to remember that it's okay not to know everything. Unlike class tests, these tests have some questions designed to challenge the limits of your grade level knowledge. And so it's important on those questions that you really use what you know to answer to the best of your ability. But also remember, it's okay not to know everything. You don't need to be Mr. Know-it-all. But you do need to know that you've done your best. So make it count. Try your best. So with all that being said, here are my final tips. The first thing is relax. The next is think positively. And the last and most important is try your absolute best because your best is enough. So good luck and happy testing.